Hey guys, it's Brett the Hitman, and yeah, got you another comic review, and another one by my man James Bretney. Doing this as kind of a favor to the guy, and he's been good to me. So hope I haven't kept you waiting too long, James. And this is just one of a few of his books I'm going to be covering. I mean, there's a couple other on his tapis that had my attention that I want to cover, as well as another book he sent me in the mail. And I'm thinking about doing comic reviews in this style as the default, mainly just because with all the other content I have on my channel, plus having a full-time day job, this makes it easier to get them out in a more timely fashion. I mean, like my werewolf videos, I'm okay with those taking their time. Those have a different audience. But yeah, these I'd rather not keep people waiting on. So let's just get on to the book. Yeah, now this one is called Call Me Robby. And what it is the best way I can put it, it's kind of it's existential, like have you ever read Ulysses by James Joyce? The main character in that book, like it's just him wandering through the streets of Dublin, and it's all basically what's going through his head in that entire night. And that's kind of what Call Me Robby is. It's very similar in that sense. It's a book that doesn't have a traditional narrative. It's stream of consciousness. It's a trip through this guy's psyche. Now, if you watched an interview I did with James, I forget when that was. I think it was a couple months ago. You'll remember that he and I touched on that briefly. And Robby was a guy he was friends with. And if I had to put my finger on why this book was made, it was kind of made as just to get some catharsis. It's about how that relationship ended. That's what I'm assuming. I mean, James, you're free to correct me if that's not the case. But yeah, this book is essentially a trip through Robby's psyche, and I'll be upfront with you guys. If you're gonna read this book, be forewarned, it gets very graphic. Not so much in the violence, because the violence is actually pretty well done, although there are some pretty gruesome scenes in it, which I'm not going to show you because I'm not sure what will happen with YouTube, but there's some pretty graphic sex scenes in this too. There's some nudity. I can't show that. YouTube would flag me. So what I've got are these images I clipped off of the tapis page, which I'm hoping at least give a good impression of how it looks and what you can expect out of it. But yeah, it's very graphic. It's not for the faint of heart, and it's uncomfortable to read in places. Very uncomfortable. Art-wise, as you can tell, it doesn't go for something that would be more traditional. It has a kind of a more impressionistic style, something that's more out of a Van Gogh painting, which I think actually suits the tone and actually gives it a little bit of identity and some atmosphere. Everything has this sort of ugliness to it, and it's very gruesome and ugly to look at. But like I said, in this book's case, it works because, for one, this isn't a book that's telling a story. This is a book that's taking you on a trip through a person's psyche, and then you'll learn pretty quickly that Robby, he's not a good person. This guy he's kind of a scumbag, to put it bluntly. And it's very uncompromising depicting him like that. It does show that he has had a bit of a fucked up life, but it doesn't make excuses for him. It just shows him as he is, and it more or less leaves it up to you to decide how you view him. And it's very raw and uncompromising in how it depicts it, and I appreciate it for that. Nothing about this book is sugar-coated one bit, and that's sort of what I like about James's work, is that he doesn't handle you with kid gloves. I made that observation back in Blaze of Glory about how it depicted what the Iraq War was like, about how it was very gruesome and very graphic, and it did not make it look cool at all. But he's really good at doing that. He's saying, hey, oh, you want to know what a combat zone looks like? This is what it looks like. Still think it's cool now, kids? But that's the best way I can put it. It's a good book, but it's one that's also uncomfortable to read. Anyway, and I'm honestly having a hard time finding, anything that's, a major criticism. I mean, if you could say anything that is a criticism, it's, down to the narrative and the art, but that's more of a style. If that doesn't work for you, I can't really help you. I mean, it was a little off-putting for me at first, but it grew on me once I sort of got, okay, yeah, this is what it's trying to do. Now I get it. But if you can't get it, or if this just doesn't click with you, it's not gonna do anything for you. And like I said, just given the subject matter and how graphic it is also gonna be off-putting to probably a lot of people. It was off-putting to me at first too. Now it's by design, but that still can be a problem for it. Actually, another thing that I want to include as a criticism, not necessarily the book's fault, because from what I understand, this was sort of more production related. It's that the art was a little on the inconsistent side. Now, James told me that was because the artist he had originally hired had to leave the book. I don't know why, but she had to leave. He pretty much had to finish it himself. So, like, the art style kind of was a little inconsistent. It's not the book's fault, but I do think that's a fair and legitimate... I think that's a legitimate thing to criticize it for, that the style just was not consistent in places. Like, some of the clips I'm showing you, those, like, I think one of them is from the original artist. One looks like it was done by another person. One, I think, was done by James. Well, they all look like they're sort of done in that same sort of impressionistic style. They all look like they're done by different people. Would have been nice if it had had a consistent feel throughout, but that can't be helped. I am going to include a link in the description so you can go check this out, but like I said, go into this knowing what you're getting into. And if this book did not convince you to check it out, like, I totally get it at why, guys. This book isn't fun to read. It's not trying to be. Very disturbing in places. It's very graphic, very uncomfortable. And while I think those work in its favor, I can also see how it's off-putting to most people. Probably a weird way to praise the book, to say that, but that's the best way I can put it. It's a good book, but it's one that's also uncomfortable to read. Check out the book, send him some love if you can, and just continue to support his work and support my channel, all that jazz, guys. Peace out.